Hello and welcome to another fantastic Tuesday now here in week 3 over at Frank's retirement home. My name is Zach Vexel and joining me here on the desk is 02. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Definitely looking forward to this set. We have two pretty potent teams here with the Gunshow Shoguns and Cyberpunk Otters. No team's really just lacking in their own departments, and looking forward to seeing what they bring out for us today. Always blame Lunar. Always blame Lunar. I do agree. So we're going to go through right now and talk a little bit about our picks and bans here for the first few minutes. So over on the order side, we do see what looks like the first few bans that came out were the Chernobog Athena and the Baba Yaga. I see these, again, very prominent picks here with the Global Ultimates, the Chernobog and the Athena being two of our more dominant dual lane, honestly, matchups. The ability to just get up in their ultimates and go around the map wherever they so please at any point in the game. Teams that utilize that strength, utilize those abilities, really do apply pressure across the map, come out on top, and take charge in the early game. Over on the Chaos side, we do see the Ganesha, Morgan Le Fay, and the Maman Brigitte in our first 3 bans over there. With the Baba Yaga, the Maman Brigitte, the Morgan Le Fay, these are 3 very dominant mid laners, dominant solo laners, and maybe even with that Maman Brigitte going over in the jungle every now and then, we've seen her in the support role too, so I wouldn't doubt where we could put this pick. The Ganesha, though, come on. Probably the best support that we have, who just sits in the midline, backline, gets off his silence, makes sure that any dive that comes his way just gets completely canceled out. What are some of your thoughts right now on these first 3 bans from each team, 02?
They're pretty good bands, if I could say. Over on the order side, the Athena and Trino is really big for the bands. If I do say, it could be very annoying early on as well.
Teams really
Like,
struggle with that kind
hmm
of rotation potential, so having the ability to just, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever the cooldowns tend to be for these different types of guys, just pressing a button and congrats. Now I'm on the other end of the map. Now I'm invading your blue buff on cooldown. Now I'm invading your red buff on cooldown with the rest of my team, just showing up in places where I wouldn't say you don't expect them to, because anytime I do see these gods in the game, I'm expecting them to be everywhere outside of the cooldown of their own ultimates. I'm like, okay, I got a little bit of a buffer zone here once they press the button, but until that happens, then I'm always on edge, wondering where they're going to drop in at any time.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Athena is mostly annoying with her taunt these days, how long it lasts and everything. So if she could go anywhere on the map, it's pretty annoying.
Oh yeah, think about it too. You're taunting into some of these big abilities that we're seeing coming out lately. We're seeing a lot of the Poseidons. We're seeing the Morgan Le Fays, been seeing a lot of Thoths and Janices here in this league, and you get these, and Kukulkans too. You get these
hmm
characters who have these large abilities who, with a little bit of setup, can go a long way, and Athena just kind of provides that setup on her own. Let me just blink in, taunt. Let me dash in, taunt. Let me just land in, taunt. That taunt is so utilized over the years. You think all the way back to the Medusa Athena combos or the Poseidon Athena combos of back in the original seasons of the game, of Smite in general in the Pro League. The god's been around doing what she does for years. No doubt about it.
hmm
Second phase of bans that we do have over here are the Raijin and Bakasura on the order side, and the Agni and Vulcan on the Chaos side. 3 mages and an assassin. Okay, Raijin, I've been seeing a lot, but the Agni and Vulcan comes as a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yes, for me as well. Right now, it's pretty surprising why they banned that. Mm.
One thing's for certain is the Agni, if you get that character up to level 5, he's just going to drop a bomb on a wave, go around and do whatever he feels like. The thing that I do see is that with the Vulcan and the Agni, these are 2 characters who are very, I don't want to say easy to lock down, but on the easier end. They don't have leaps, they don't have CC immunity, they don't have anything that allows them to get out, and no real get out of jail free card. Sure, you have the Agni dash, and Vulcan's backfire isn't able to be crippled anymore, but still, you can lock down these 2 picks very easily. And sure, they're going to dump their kits on top of you when they do that, but you're able to just kind of lock them down, blow them up, and take them out before they can really do a whole lot in a team fight. And I think seeing them banned off kind of, like we said, comes as a little bit of a surprise.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
And then the Bakasura, you just got a hyper clear, hyper late carry jungler. Maybe a little bit on the targeted side for one of these junglers, but I do see it still as a very dominant pick if you're picking a little aggressive across the map for the early game, allowing that Bakasura to scale, allowing him to get to late game. Some of the picks we do see coming out here over on the order side, we do end up having gods such as the Opwash, very dominant, probably one of the last of the dominant mage solos that we do see along next to the Poseidon over on the Chaos side. You got the Opwash, you got Poseidon. Sure, we banned Raijin. Sure, we banned Maman Brigitte. Sure, we banned Morgan Le Fay. But, we left these two up, I guess. So teams are going to pick them each respectively. Thor, got to get those global ultimates in here. Early pressure, global ultimate, get around, apply pressure across the map, and do exactly what you're intended to as this god. What I liked seeing, though, is the Awilix on the Chaos side. The Awilix comes to me as one of the best scaling junglers in the game. I pit her in spots next to the Klidna. I put her up next to the Surcat. I put her next to the Bastet. These gods who are able to just do their thing very uniquely, but scale super hard into the late game and apply a lot of pressure. And these are ability-based junglers, obviously. We have the auto-attack junglers who have their own right in that. But from the ability-based junglers, the amount of scaling on this god's kit is kind of atrocious when she's able to just pluck it. And the way I see the Awilix is a character who, in her own right, has the ability to just succeed on her own, but gets better with synergy from her team picks or by the counter picks of the enemy team. A god who starts off good, but gets only better.
Yes. Wheelix is really fun to see in games like these, especially going up against like a Thor usually, and like no one to knock her up or taunt. She's a.
We're going to transition over here into the game to kind of get a look at some of these bans and picks that you guys are able to see. So now you're able to see a little bit of what we're talking about here. So we do see mid laners picking up over here, the Merlin on the order side and the Chronos respectively over on the Cyberpunk Otters. Two good scaling mages over here. There's not too much else to say about it. The amount of damage that these two can apply, and you really got to watch out come time of these early objectives, the Gold Furies, the Pyromancers, the Fire Giant. When these gods get online, they are going to dish out some damage. And then we have the Karen and the Kuzenbo coming out over here from the supports. Karen, we've seen Darth Dumbledore put up numbers and kill securing earlier this week very prominently with that pick. So let's see if Shrimp Warrior over here can do the exact same and secure enough kills for his team. The Kuzenbo, I'm a huge favorite of. I love the Kuzenbo. It comes out on occasions, nothing quite like getting Nana Kappa slapped from across the map because of how much it bounces and just losing half your health bar, maybe having him pin you against a wall with the Kappa. So much fun to do that. And then our last two picks are going to be the Danzaburo and the X-Ball. A little bit more pressure coming out from the order side. Gunshow Shoguns is dual lane, but a little bit more on the scaling end from the Cyberpunk Otters.
The Kuzenbo is really annoying to go up against in dual lane to start off with his dash and everything like that, and his turtle.
It's the way I do see it. You look at the Cyberpunk Otters team, and the one thing I am worried about is the amount of scaling that they have here. A lot of poke coming out over here on dope chops. Able to get away, though, a little bit low on HP. Is going to end up sacrificing these mid camps, but they're going to look for the trade instead. Might need to be a little bit careful on the dual lane of Gunshow Shoguns. If they push too far up, Cyberpunk Otters might just rotate in early. But a lot of scaling on the side of Cyberpunk Otters, which I'm a little bit worried about. You got the Poseidon, you got the Chronos, you got the X-Ball, and you have the Awilix, who is, like I said, rotating it right behind the duel and gets the blink off and gets on top of White Mayasi. Very good, procking the beads on it. Is he going to be able to get away? Lands on in, doesn't know she's right next, and he's going to just get away. No way. Feather steps into tower. Honey, that hurts. Doesn't hurt enough. And it looks like Freaky over here is going to be able to pick up. Davo comes in the solo lane. These mage solo laners being able to apply pressure, and Dope Chops did make a rotation over and help out his teammate. First blood going the way of Gunshow Shoguns, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, not bad, not a bad start at all. Dope Chop's trying to rotate into dead dank memes over here, though, in the mid lane, and showed him that Kronos, yes, he is probably one of your better scaling mages. Doesn't entirely lack in early game. Maybe the Cyberpunk Otters are able to utilize that to apply some pressure into these lanes. Because like I was saying, you know, you got the Poseidon scaling mage, you got the Kronos, more of a scaling mage, you got the X-Ball scaling ADC. Where are you going to apply pressure? Because generally you want to win kind of 2 out of 3 lanes over here. You know, 2/3 of the map in general, to say the least. So how are Cyberpunk Otters going to, say, utilize their picks in that aspect, do you think?
Mostly they can maybe do mid and dual lane to start off with, then help out their solo lane if they need it.
I can definitely see that. And, you know, we're already seeing this, Awilix rotating over to the dual lane. I think I want to see her come back over, though, and recognizing that White Mayasi doesn't have his beads, coming over, getting this purple buff down, but it looks like Dope Chops is going to take advantage of that himself and just make sure that the buffs get secured on this end of the map.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too crazy coming out of builds so far. You know, we're seeing the Eye of the Jungles, the Maces, we're seeing the Vamp Shards in the solo lane. Mid laners just pick whichever starter they feel like and then just roll with it. The Benevolences, though, love it. You know, a lot of flexibility in, I want to say, your starter items nowadays. Thor goes up in the Anvil of Dawn, eyeballing somebody, anybody, finds Rory Mercury Simp, lands down on top of him, gets the stun off, gets a very beautiful wall, and ends up securing the kill on Rory Mercury Simp, and it looks like Gunshow Shoguns are eyeballing the purple buff of the Cyberpunk Otters. Meanwhile, over in the solo lane, Freaky is able to pick up another kill on Davo Comes, this time in the 1v2 himself.
Yeah, that was pretty nice looking over and seeing him try to do that 1v1 or 1v2.
Oh yeah, first time they came around, you know, he had Dope Chops coming over and giving him a little bit of a hand. This time, all on his own. Come on, he's gonna say, guys, hop in my backpack. I'm gonna carry this one out, and you better help out your Poseidon over here. He's gonna fall behind very quickly at this rate.
Yes. Alposh Clear is really good with his ult as well. He could just pop in, just scare the Poseidon away from anywhere, really, with it.
Gunshow Shoguns were able to strip away the purple buff of the Cyberpunk Otters, and, you know, teams are looking for a little bit of poke back and forth right here as we see Rogue Warrior and Dead Dank memes. A little bit low on the mana, though, is this Kronos. If Dope Chops does recognize that maybe he can rotate on up, but it looks like he has eyes on this solo lane instead. Team is moving around. No real wards getting thrown down. Yeah, we got a couple nice wards. Dope Chops does blink into the solo lane and gets a nice wall over here on Davo Comes and ends up securing the kill. Kraken comes out. This Poseidon is 0-3 now. You know, what does he need? It looks like he needs some ward vision, but, you know, you have this Thor, semi-global ultimate. Where are you going to be warding, especially this early in the game, to avoid getting ganked by that?
Mostly by Fire Giant area, really, because he could just pop his ult right there and just go in on you.
Over by Fire Gen, it looks like Gunshow Shoguns are taking the liberty of getting a plenty of ward vision down. I think we can kind of see their idea of where they want to play this game through. Look at that. You got 2 wards up by the red buff, top of Pyro Pit, 1 up by the red buff junction, 1 over by the top of Fire Pit, bottom of Pyro Pit. They're placing these wards all across the side of the map. I have a good idea of what their game plan is right now.
It's gonna be mostly a mid gameplay, it looks like.
Cyberpunk Otters definitely need to recognize that. Probably get a little bit of counter vision up over here and maybe either help out your Poseidon a little or recognize that we got to cut our losses, apply some pressure to mid, apply some pressure to dual lane. They had a really good gank off early in the game, but unable to capitalize on a kill, but it was still a good gank to alleviate the pressure. Teams moving around, and look at the amount of ward vision that is coming down from Gunshow Shoguns now. They are making me eat my words by placing wards all over the map. Shrimp Warrior gets pushed in over here by the Kuzenbo. Blink Feather Step comes out. from Zafkiel, and it looks like Shrimp Warrior is unable to get away. Dead Dank Memes does pick up the kill on the Gunshow Shogun support. Anvil of Dawn goes up in the air. He is eyeballing Dead Dank Memes a little off the mark, though. It's rather unfortunate, and Dead Dank Memes says, okay, I want to fight. Double stun from these two players, and Zafkiel is making his way on in. Eyeballing Dope Chops over here in the Thor, but instead gonna opt for Rogue Warrior, getting the beads off of this Merlin. Dope Chops looks like he's just going to be happy to move about, get his farm back up, and happy to get away 1 HP. And noticing that since the enemy team's jungler isn't a Thanatos, he's not going to find him out over here at 1 HP.
And I'm kind of surprised that the Outwash is not building any defense to start off with.
I think this Outwash is really recognizing that he has his team support. Not only does he has his team support, but he's already won the 1v2 against Zafkiel and Davo. I don't feel like he's too threatened, or he feels too threatened over here in the solo lane. Does have good positioning, does have good wards. Double ultimates getting popped by these solo laners, and Davo Chops does show up. Zafkiel eats a tower shot, and it looks like he bit off a little bit more than he can chew, because Dope Chops does pick up the kill on Zafkiel. See, this is what I mean. Dope Chops is making the rotations over here when necessary, but it feels like Freaky just doesn't care. You know, he's not too worried about what's going to come.
Yeah.
Anvil of Dawn going up in the air, eyeballing Davo on this Poseidon. Doesn't have mana, doesn't have health, does secure his buff, but does end up falling. Davo, don't pick up your buff. You're dying, my friend. He's not going to have that buff now when he comes back.
Yeah, as a solo laner, you definitely need your mana buff to start off with and stuff.
As a solo laner and as a solo lane mage at that, you know, you're kind of lacking in the mana department without these traditional mage starters with the Conduit Gem and the Sands of Time. You know, no real good mana sustain over there with the Vamp Shard. Hey, you get a little MP5. Not enough for a mage, though. Yeah, definitely not enough for a mage to sustain. Teams returning to neutral, just trying to secure their own farm, and it looks like Cyberpunk Otters are trying to stop the bleeding over here in their side lane. You know, we're already up to a 3K, almost 4K lead in favor of the Gunshow Shoguns. They're doing a good job of showing us that Cyberpunk Otters pick scaling across the map aren't able to pressure out this early game, and Gunshow Shoguns, like we said, are taking advantage of that. White Asi might find himself a little bit out of position here, ends up meeting 3 members of Cyberpunk Otters, forced to use the beads, and Zafkiel's on the chase down, looking for him, but he's able to get away and find his support over here. Shrimp Warrior made his way in. Anvil of Dawn coming on down, not finding anybody, and 4 members of the Cyberpunk Otters are going to start picking up the Gold Fury. Gunshow Shoguns, though, very strong, very healthy, and very close by. Gold Fury does end up getting dropped by the Cyberpunk Otters, and teams might end up just cutting their losses here and returning back to farming. I don't think anybody's going to be taking this Gold Fury anytime soon. I do like that Cyberpunk Otters are getting some good ward vision down now, though, over here, but really strictly over on the duo side jungle. Davo, you know, with the amount of times he's been ganked over here, I think I would want to see some deep ward vision coming out over on his end. You know, get some over by the blue buff, get some over by the enemy back camps, maybe just figure out where this Thor is rotating to and from. That way you can get a good idea of how to defend yourself. Zafkiel making a rotation over, maybe trying to catch off this Opwash now that he doesn't have any ward vision, but it looks like he might just be happy securing his own blue buff for the first time in a couple rotations. They do just that. They do secure their buff. Dope Chops looking for a little bit of something over here in the dual lane. Unable to connect, though. Making the rotation over to mid, though. We are about 30 seconds out from this beacon. I'm wondering if the Cyberpunk Otters are going to just kind of group up, coordinate, come on in, and say, okay, we need to bring this game back somehow. Let's start grouping up for these objectives. They group up for this beacon. That's going to be great. Maybe even get that mid-tier 1 tower off of the back of a good fight, or get the Gold Fury. You know, that right there is going to bring this game back to net neutral. And I think that's kind of something that they need right now. is a very close game right now. The first beacon does end up spawning, and Cyberpunk Otters are going to take the advantage and start to pick it up, but White My Aussie does make the rotation. This is what I was looking for. It does get knocked up into the air and plucked by Zafkiel, unable to get into his ult, and White My Aussie ends up falling. Cronus gets forced into the ultimate. Rogue Warrior does find Rory Mercury Sim. Gunshow Shoguns are making their way in to take this beacon with the rest of their members here. Very strong, very healthy, and very happy that they're going to take it. I think that's just, you know, White My Aussie made a good rotation here, but just got collapsed on, but then Gunshow Shoguns just came over as an entire unit. You know, like they were there. This is what I was saying that we needed to see from the Cyberpunk Otters. Gunshow Shoguns showed up. Anvil of Dawn goes up in the air, comes on down on top of Zafkiel. Does not have the beads available to get away. Opted for Blink. Does get away though. Able to jump over the wall. And it looks like the members of Gunshow Shoguns don't want to let her go for free. Forced to use the Blink defensively to kind of get away and create a little bit of space. Still a very close game, though, you know, given at that. They did get the first beacon to Gunshow Shoguns. They are looking kind of towards this Gold Fury by the looks of it, but not wanting to pick it up right away. Just going to kind of force down their lanes a little bit and get a little bit more lane pressure. As we see the tier 1 tower falling over in the duo lane. That's it. White My Aussie's one duo. It's over. I took tier 1 first. That's how it goes, right? Mm-hmm. But that, you know, if you take that thought process, that means Devo won solo lane, right?
Yes, because he did take his tier 1 right after the beacon.
So we got Dead Dank Memes 1 mid, Devo 1 solo, and White My Aussie 1. Okay, well, so Cyberpunk Otters won 2 out of 3 lanes. It's over. Yeah. It's it. Oracle's secured by Gunshow Shoguns, getting plenty of vision over here. Looks like they're setting up for this early gold. Oh, I don't want to say too early. It is 14 minutes into the game after all, you know. 14 minutes in the game, 2K lead. Cyberpunk Otters keeping it this close right now, getting into the later game. You know, the levels are very, very close. Solo lane over here, despite being 0-4, Poseidon is even with Freaky. Zafkiel jumping in on White My Aussie is able to block the ultimate of this Danzaburo, and he's getting collapsed on right now. But look at that Karen ult just coming from across the map. Meanwhile, over in the solo lane, Freaky is finding himself a little bit out of position. Dead Dank Memes gets forced into the ultimate, but Anvil of Dawn is up in the air, coming on down on top of the members of Cyberpunk Otters. Gets stunned out, and it looks like Rory Mercury Simp is walking away 1 HP, and so is Freaky G over here. Nobody really picking up anything, taking anything, but some interesting fights over here on the Gunshow Shogun side of the map.
I'm trying to figure out which one.
Pyromancer getting picked up over here and getting very, very low, but Rogue Warrior was able to defend it. Members over here of Cyberpunk Otters walking away. Blink comes out from the Thor. Dope Chop's able to get the beads and the Aegis off of this Kronos. Okay, Kronos doesn't have beads, doesn't have Aegis, just uses ultimate over in the solo lane. I think that's the green light for Gunshow Shoguns to pick up this Pyromancer. And they do just that. Drop the Pyromancer, get the bomb, and Zafkiel says, okay, we won't get the Pyro, but I'll take down Shrimp Warrior. Still only a 1K though. So what are your thoughts right now, 0-2, on this? You know, Cyberpunk Otters have this late game team comp. It's only a 1K game. Levels are very close right now. Are they getting exactly what they want, despite what it seems like they haven't really gotten any objectives outside of a couple towers?
You do have a point there. They only got a couple towers down and 0 objectives, I think I've seen, right? So all I'm gonna say is they probably need a little bit more wards on the map.
Wards for sure. You know, they have some good ward vision over here on the side of the Gold Fury pit, but you know, like we've been saying, the solo lane side, yeah, a little bit lacking. Granted, they were just pretty heavily up over on the Gunshow Shogun side, where the tier 1 tower used to be in the solo lane at that recent fight. Goldfear is probably going to be the next objective. Beats forced out over here from Jacob Frost. Soap on this X-Ball and the ultimate on top of it. It's trying to land auto attacks, but White My Aussie is just an absolute menace. Hitting autos left and right, forcing the Aegis here from Jacob Frost. Soap and end up securing the kill. White My Aussie trying to get away with his life now as he forced the ultimate from Zafkiel on this Wheelix and the watery grave from Mercury Simp. Davo comes down with the Anvil of Dawn, and here comes the team members of Gunshow Shoguns trying to get something off the back of this, but the Cyberpunk Otters members are here as well. Zafkiel ends up picking up Dope Chops. A very nice shutdown over here on this Thor. Kraken coming out over here on top of Rogue Warrior, forces the beads, gets the kill as well. Davo making a very nice rotation here, and the members of Cyberpunk Otters are in the driver's seat, really putting down the gas pedal, chasing down the members of Gunshow Shoguns, and looks like their eyes are set on creating a lead for themselves at this point.
That's definitely a Gold Fury for them, because they only have their support on Gunshow.
Now, you say only have their support, but I've seen a Kepri steal a Fire Giant. As Shrimp Warrior does find dead dank memes over here, but the Gold Fury does end up going the way of Cyberpunk Otters still.
They might get a beacon as well if they go there.
It'd definitely be good for them. You know, they brought this game back from a 2-3K in the favor of Gunshow Shoguns to bringing it down now 500 gold in their favor. Yes, this beacon's going to neutralize that a little bit, and we are going to have one of our lovely 40-minute 100 gold games. Definitely my favorites. I seem to find these sets. Something about it. I don't know. I still haven't had my PvE death though. I'm promised.
It's definitely not fun doing a 40-minute game. That's for dang sure.
What do you mean? I honestly, it's tradition for me at this point. So you want to cast with me, expect the 40-50 minute games where it's only a 100 gold disparity at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Zafkiel trying to get a little bit of damage over here on Freaky G. Does have the level advantage, is force the Upwash, his ultimate, but also force the hand of the Gunshow Shoguns members. Gets shut down. Man, you're way up here in the Gunshow Shoguns jungle side. You don't have any ward vision. You don't know where the members are from their team. What are you doing right now other than, well, dying, obviously? Little poke damage over here on Rory Mercury Simp, and the beads and Aegis get forced out from dead dank memes yet again. The Gunshow Shoguns are really applying pressure to this Kronos whenever they do get on top of them. Nice little grouping here from Gunshow Shoguns in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Cyberpunk Otters are pushing down over in the dual lane. Jacob Frost might get caught out here, recognizing that the two members of Gunshow Shoguns did make a rotation. Good auto attacks, but it's not enough. Is getting stunned out, is getting his health bar depleted, and sent back to the gray screen. Man, I really respect the split push attempt, but you sit around for a little bit too long, and, well, that's exactly what happens. Nice ultimate trade over here by the Fire Giant Pit from both teams. Kind of just walking away at about 1 HP right now. You know, something I am recognizing too, this Kuzenbo went for the Magi's. I'm sorry, went for the cloak. Went and got Thebes as well. Hasn't finished stacking either of them. Is it just not being around the... Oh, well, Dope Chops comes down with the Anvil of Dawn, unable to find Mori Mercury Simp, hold that thought. And the blink comes out from the Kuzenbo as well, trying to get his way, trying to figure out where Dope Chops is coming from. Ends up getting found by two members of the Cyberpunk Otters and sent back to the gray screen as well. Ha! Looking for a support, and that's kind of what happens right there.
It's kind of rough.
Pyromancer does go down the way of Cyberpunk Otters off the back of a little bit of a crack in here from Davo. But yeah, like I was saying, okay, so we did just get the Thebes finish from Rory Mercury Simp. But he still has that cloak to stack up. I'm almost wondering, you know, does it really fit the play style that the Cyberpunk Otters are looking for?
If he could get it stacked, for sure. But if he doesn't, it's gonna be kind of rough in their part.
Members are starting to get up to this level 20 mark. You know, I mean, first they're Zafkiel on this Awelix. Gonna start putting out some good damage. A little bit lower on the power end of the build until later. Once they picked up that Erendite, finally got some power online. Ooh, running into 3 members over here by this Gold Fury pit. It is an Oni Fury, so I do expect a good grouping here from both teams. As we do see the members of Gunshow Shoguns collapsing on the Cyberpunk Otters players, and it looks like a dash away from Jacob Frost Soap is able to just barely get out of range of White Mayasi right here. Very low. Don't look back just yet. Zafkiel ends up jumping on in, and the Anvil of Dawn goes up in the air. Jacob Frost Soap very, very low. Dope Chops just off the mark, but able to secure that kill over here. Incoming into the tier 2 tower, the members of Gunshow Shoguns, and Dope Chops does not want to let Zafkiel go away, but he's going to get away very nice, very low, well, little, not so nice, and the tier 2 tower does go down for Cyberpunk Otters, but the Cyberpunk Otters were on the Fire Giant the whole time.
That's a Fire Giant.
We all missed that one, you know.
Yes,
Such
we
a
did.
aggressive fight from Gunshow Shoguns. They're going to take the Gold Fury as a consolation prize, but man, if the Fire Giant goes down, can you really say we got a consolation prize?
Not exactly, no.
Take a look at that side of the map, though. There are no wards over on
Except
the Fire
one,
Giant side.
but they didn't walk that way.
Right. No wards in and around that pit. So Cyberpunk Otters recognized that, saw all the members of Gunshow Shoguns over at the tier 2 tower in their dual lane, and we're like, you know what? Let's take it. Let's go. What are they going to do about it? Can they really rotate over here in time? Dope Chops goes up in the Anvil of Dawn. It looks like Rogue Warrior is the target of Zafkiel over here, getting down to the 1 HP. Anvil of Dawn does come down over in the middle lane fight, and Zafkiel is able to secure the kill on Rogue Warrior. Shrimp Warrior looking for something to try to save his teammate, but it's unfortunate right here. White Mayasi gets pushing into his team by Rory Mercury Simp, forced the beads and Aegis, and Dope Chops ends up falling to Dead Dake Memes. But now it looks like Freaky is the target here as beads are forced on this Opwash, and the members of Cyberpunk Otters, very strong, very healthy, and holding on to this Fire Giant around their belts, are collapsing on the members of Gunshow Shoguns. Shrimp Warrior now about to fall. Shrimp Warrior saying he's not falling just yet, and now he does. 3 members more down on the Gunshow Shoguns. All 5 members down. That's a deicide, and the members of Cyberpunk Otters are marching down the mid lane. Down goes the tier 2 tower. Down goes the Phoenix in just a moment, it looks like. And man, Cyberpunk Otters really turned this game around.
Is this gonna be a game?
Probably won't be a game just yet. They're able to remove the Titans, and you know, their health bars are not the greatest right now, so that mixed with the timers of the Gunshow Shoguns, I like the call. You got the base cracked over here for the Gunshow Shoguns, okay? And you got it cracked off of the back of a basic Fire Giant. That is huge right there. You know, in the middle, Phoenix is not one that's too bad. You're able to crack that base, open it up, and now you're starting to apply this pressure down this middle lane and really applying the pressure onto the Gunshow Shoguns. Dope Chops, you can't 1v1 a Titan, buddy. Get out of there. What are you doing? Both Titans do end up falling, and Cyberpunk Otters are going to make their way on over to the Pyromancer. Going to utilize the rest of this Fire Giant time. They still have about a minute left on their timer. Going to clean up some of this jungle farm, get some items online, maybe get another tower down in the process, make one last push before they back reset and come on very strong into the next Fire Giant push. We are seeing a lot more members getting up to level 20, and mostly on the side of the Cyberpunk Otters. I think they did a phenomenal job this game, really just dragging the game out, getting it to late game. Because, you know, like we said, you have the Poseidon, you have the Awelix, you have the Chronos, you have the X-Ball. Get to the late game. You know, that's all you really got to do at this point. And Cyberpunk Otters are doing exactly that. It looks like Cyberpunk Otters members do want to make one last push over here, maybe knock down a tier 2 tower, but they are missing 2 members in this 3v4 over here. Still Fire Giant around 2, though. You know, you have the double ADC. It might be possible, but if that Thor rotates in on top of it and they get collapsed on this, could spell some danger for the 3 members of Cyberpunk Otters. Although over on the dual lane end of the map, Dope Chops goes up in the Anvil. Don says, I'm going to rotate on over here. Instead, I don't want to lose another Phoenix. Eyeballing the Poseidon and a Wheelix from the Cyberpunk Otters. Gets a 2-man stun over here, but ends up falling as well himself. Ooh. And it looks like the members of Cyberpunk Otters are going to dive into this Phoenix, chipping away at its health bar, getting it down to half health. But Rogue Warrior shows up on the defense and is able to find Zafkiel, getting the trade over here, jungle for jungle. And that Phoenix is still going down. I don't know if Rogue Warrior is going to be able to stop this, but it looks like he's able to remove that minion wave and keep his Phoenix alive for another day. Speaking of keeping alive for another day, this tier 2 tower over here is not taking any damage at all whatsoever.
They don't have a Poseidon to go in and like try to push them out. Really.
Without a doubt. You don't have that AoE damage, you know, like you were saying, but it looks like White My Aussie's gonna ult on in along with Shrimp Warrior, really locking down some good damage on Rory Mercury Simp. That Phoenix though is still getting pressured by the Poseidon over in the dual lane, and Freaky is not too healthy to stay over here in the solo lane, keep defending this tier 2 tower. Yeah, look at that, about 100, 200 health. What are you going to do if the members of Cyberpunk Otters just decide to commit right here? The Fire Giant has respawned, but 2 members are collapsing over on Davo in the dual lane. But it looks like Davo is the one who's coming out at the advantage right here. Look at those health bars from Gunshow Shoguns.
They're pretty low.
I like the pressure that Cyberpunk Otters have. Okay, but I feel like right now they're kind of overstaying their welcome. You know, you're allowing the Gunshow Shoguns to drag out this game, which at this point now it's going to be good for them to close the gap up and get a little bit farm online, get their members up to level 20. You know, I feel like pushing in for these Phoenixes anymore is a little bit of a stretch. You have the Fire Giant up, you have Gold Fury up if you want to, you know, do a little bit more damage to the Fire Giant, since it is a primal. You have the entire jungle of the Gunshow Shoguns up. You have Freaky G dead, you know? And you had a Phoenix down, but now the Phoenix has respawned. Now the base of the Gunshow Shoguns is, well, I wouldn't say healthy given these 2 Phoenix health bars, but locked back up. Members of Cyberpunk Otters really trying to get this Phoenix do end up finally knocking down the Phoenix of the dual lane. Dope Chops trying to get up in the Anvil of Dawn, unable to do so though, and Zafkiel is absolutely 1 HP, finding a double kill at that health bar. What are you doing? How is he getting away with this? A little bit of lifesteal goes a long way. He's up to the same health bar as this Merlin, and Rogue Warrior is going to go back to base, and all 3 Phoenixes are down. Okay, you know what? Cyberpunk Otters, they proved me wrong, I guess. I say they're overstaying their welcome. They're overstaying their welcome, and they take all 3 Phoenixes.
Yep. Ooh, with both of the Bastions as well.
Unbelievable play by Cyberpunk Otters, making their way over to this Fire Giant pit now. Not a single concern in their heads. You have fire minions pushing down in 3 lanes. It's 30 minutes. This is enhanced Fire Giant. The Gunshow Shoguns are sitting in the back in their fountain right now, scratching their heads like, okay, guys, what do we do? You know, if the Cyberpunk Otters are willing to just stick around in front of your fountain for that long, taunting you and just trying to take away these Phoenixes and doing exactly that, and, you know, getting away with it, what do you do as the members of Gunshow Shoguns? You know, maybe get some ward vision up. We do see 1, 2 defensive wards now placed over here, but I think the Gunshow Shoguns really need to collapse on these members who are standing up by the middle Phoenix right now. As 5, get in there and really just whittle down the numbers of Cyberpunk Otters if they want to stay in the game. Take a little bit too long, though, as the members of Cyberpunk Otters are making their way in. And Dope Chops, you don't want to hammer into that, my friend. Gets forced into the Anvil of Dawn and force ultimate away. Saves his life, but, man, there goes probably your primary engage that you've been seeing over here from the Gunshow Shoguns. They've been really utilizing this Thor and Kronos ult combination And now they don't have that. Frenzy does get popped over here from the Gunshow Shoguns on Warrior Mercury Simpus, 1 HP and a dream. That dream is not enough though, as Freaky G ends up finding Warrior Mercury Simp. Shrimp Warrior is low though as well, but White My Aussie finds Zafkio first. Dead Dank Memes does end up picking up White My Aussie on the back end, and Shrimp Warrior is dashing in, rooting Dead Dank Memes in place, who finds Rogue Warrior as well. Couple healthy members still left over on the Cyberpunk Otter side, still with Enhanced Fire Giant, tracking down Freaky G over here and able to find him. And that Titan's health bar is absolutely dying.
Oh,
that is a winion. You know, you're so caught up in this fight, and well, the minions just end the game. Team's putting up a really good fight here, but it looks like the Cyberpunk Otters are going to come out on top. Game 1 does go the way of the Cyberpunk Otters, and the Gunshow Shoguns might need to start looking at draft number 2 and say, okay, where was our advantage? To me, I look at it, it was in the early game. You know, they had a little bit of lead. They were able to apply some pressure in the early game. But what I have to say is it felt like it didn't transition at all into the mid game. You know, it felt like they didn't really utilize that pressure that they built early, and they didn't continue it. What are you thinking?
Yeah, they did not continue the pressure early on. There was not that many wards in general on their side, I think.
I think I saw close to the end of the game, the solo laners only had 1 ward each. Yeah, look at that.
Yep.
This is solo brain right here. I run down at you, you run down at me. We're gonna smack each other a little bit, and what's a ward? You know. I guess they did find the ward button once. You know, they saw it in the shop, and it was like, "What does this thing do?" Placed it, goes, "Well, that doesn't deal damage. I don't want that." And then decided against buying any more. But just looking across at the damage numbers, you know, the Gunshow Shoguns weren't losing out on any damage. You know, you had 27, almost 28k on this op wash. He was doing exactly what he needed to in providing the space in these team fights. I mean, look at him and the Merlin's damage combination. 27k, almost 28k, 26k over on the Merlin. There are 2 AoE potentials on these 2 picks. If they could have coordinated a little bit better, there might have been a little better showing here. But man, it just felt like Cyberpunk Otters, as soon as they got into that later game stage, just took a commanding lead and just did not let off the gas pedal.
Yep. This XMBO damage is kind of iffy. Could have done better a little bit.
Could have done better indeed, but we're going to find out if Gunshow Shoguns make the kind of adjustments that they need going into game number 2. We'll be right back momentarily with game 2 of Gunshow Shoguns versus Cyberpunk Otters. Stay tuned. And here we are back with game number 2 of Cyberpunk Otters versus the Gunshow Shoguns. Going to be moving on into picks and bans here and changing some things around over here on the desk. I have Dragon Zero joining me now for this game. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. The virginity has been... Never mind, that was bad. First time casting, it's going to be a great cast, I feel like.
Taking people's casting virginity left and right. Okay, so a couple bans coming out here. I'm saying it if I want to. Ganesha getting banned over on the side of Cyberpunk Otter is probably our best support that we can see. You know, we have that backline support, midline support, can play it very aggressively, a lot of utility in his kit that he can just utilize however he feels. Poseidon gets banned over on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns. I guess they do not want to see that pick come through. Now, I felt like in game number 1, the Cyberpunk Otters were struggling in that solo lane in the early game. Granted, they had a late game team comp, but I guess the Gunshow Shoguns don't want that Poseidon to get through again.
Yeah, that late game Kraken is not fun. I tell you what, I've been on more than a few sides of those. It's early game, you might be able to deal with him. You might be able to outpoke him, but late game, those Krakens just, it's something different.
There's a few abilities in the game that just feel good to hit. And I want to say like Kraken and Thothalt, where you just hear this huge crack as soon as you release the ultimate, you know, and as soon as it makes contact, the health bar gets deleted, it feels right. And you're like, yep, I did that. There goes the team fight. You know? And it's one of those abilities too that you can really use at any time. You can use it to start the fight. You can use it in the middle of the fight. You can use it at the end of the fight, chasing people down. You could use it to secure buffs. You can use it to secure objectives. But
speaking of ults you can use at any time, that Athena getting banned, they just don't want presence in this game. They don't want Cyberpunk Otters to have any possibility of impacting the map at large, it feels like.
Yeah, a lot of similar bans that we saw. You know, Poseidon really the only thing new coming in here to game number 2. We have the Athena and the Chernobog getting banned up. Tail is old as time. You got the Maman Brigitte and the Morgan Le Fay getting banned out. Tail is old as time. You know, as for those last two powerful mage mid laners, maybe solo laner, maybe jungle if we look at the Maman Brigitte or support. Opwash gets locked in over here on the side of the Cyberpunk Otters in our first pick and is followed up immediately with a Chalk. Now, we saw this pick get pulled out yesterday. It was interesting. I say it because Chalk is interesting. You know, we don't see it a whole lot, but I didn't mind how it looked yesterday. I actually kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I don't know how I like the Chalk pick into the Opwash as Cardi B Charybdis is locked in. You know, just having Opwash being walking anti-heal, I don't know how effective the Chalk is going to be.
All right, you know, anytime he presses his 3 button, what's going to happen? Frost throws his 3 in response. I don't feel like you're ever able to get a heal off without getting stunned. Charybdis too, like you said, getting locked in over on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns. Another very interesting pick. I think the Gunshow Shoguns are coming into this game number 2 with a unique style. You know, maybe some comfort picks here and there, but I'm hoping that they can synergize this team comp and walk away with something strong. Cyberpunk Otters locking in that Kronos and Danzaburu. All right. Now, Kronos, they had on their team in the last game, but the Danzaburu was over on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns.
You know, I think I'm glad you mentioned comfort. Why my Aussie really favoring that Charybdis pick this season, it feels like. I feel like I've seen it in a number of games now. It seems like something that he's just going to rely on, and we'll see how it goes, especially versus that Kronos that I feel like they had a little bit of trouble dealing with last time. Oh, Thanatos being hovered, and it's locked in.
The Gunshow Shoguns in game number 1 were able to apply some really good pressure to the side lanes early. And I see that happening a little bit less with the Charybdis, just in her nature, going especially into the Danzaburu. I see that happening a little bit less with the Chalk into the Opwash, even though it is Warrior and a Mage, just because of the nature of how those... I feel like Opwash is more on the countering side of a Chalk. But then you lock in this Thanatos, and I do like this because it did feel like the jungler of Gunshow Shogun, Dope Chops, was moving around, getting his ultimates off, dropping on people with that Anvil of Dawn. And if you have the Thanatos now, congrats, you are just deleting people even faster.
Absolutely. You know, I'm kind of interested to see the Oelix and the Bastet band, both really powerful junglers. Although I'm surprised we're not seeing a Thor band considering what happened last game. Thor having that really powerful engage, you know, and towards the late game, it did seem like he was doing quite a bit of damage there.
Quite a bit of damage for sure. Yeah, you know, like you're saying, those 2 junglers banned over on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns. Good scaling, good pressure from those 2 picks, and the Oelix looked pretty good. I have to say, it looked pretty good. That pick that can kind of just do whatever it feels like and only gets better with team synergy or anti-synergy from the enemy team if they decide to pick a couple of jumps and leaps into it. Tepri gets banned over on the side of the Cyberpunk Otters along with the Raijin, just removing some safety and removing one of those potent mages currently in the meta. We see the Agni get locked in on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns. We did have this pick get banned in game number 1, and it is followed up with a Pele on the side of the Cyberpunk Otters. I'm a little worried for this Agni pick. You know, the Pele blinks in. She's going to get on top of you. She's going to go for the knock immediately. What are your instinct as an Agni? Dash away. Instantly look for the dash away. You know, but then she just ults immediately after you. Gets on top of you, gets in your face. You try to go for a stun on top of her, but if she has the beads ready.
On top of the Neja pick, I don't think that Agni is going to be going much of anywhere this game, especially with, you know, Sasha's coming out of nowhere. I'm sure Neja's got to run Blink. And I honestly, with how much mobility and lockdown that it looks like Cyberpunk Otters have, I think that it's going to be beads.exe on the side of Gunshow Shoguns for sure, if they want any chance.
Man, I don't know about you, but I really want to see this Pele in mid right now. Like, I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the Agni. I want to see that Pele just get flexed over to the mid lane and just shove it down the throat of this Agni. The Ymir does get locked in on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns to round out their draft. I like the pick. I think it has its uses. I'm finding a little bit of a struggle on how it's going to fit in here, though. You know, you have some pretty good engage with the Chalk, good throwing abilities with the Agni and the Charybdis and the Thanatos kind of come and clean up. I feel like the Ymir is going to be able to lock some people down and maybe split off the fight, but how it synergizes with the draft as a whole, what are your thoughts?
See, with the Ymir, what I'm worried about is just not being able to move around the map like they need to, especially given the Ninja, given the Kronos, given the Pele. I don't see the Ymir being able to counter rotate, and being able to move around like they should.
One thing I do like, though, the Pele goes to ult in, what do you do? Ymir wall. The Dunsborough goes to ult in or ult out, what do you do? Ymir wall. You're able to kind of just lock down some of these picks because there is a fair amount of lack of mobility over on the side of Cyberpunk Otters. They don't have these leaps on their team comp. The most you're going to get is... actually, you're not really going to get much of anything. You got Pele, Kronos, Naja, Apwash, Danzaburo, all these gods who don't have leaps. The wall might be the saving grace.
I will say a good couple Ymir walls is going to take a lot of that damage away, like you said. The Donza ult, the Naja sash ult, even just stopping them right in their tracks. That's going to take away a lot of damage, especially with a good couple of walls, for sure.
Be able to really split up these team fights, lock down the members of the Gunshow Shoguns, and Cyberpunk Otters might have something a little bit in store for them. Gunshow Shoguns can break apart their team fights and just get some good picks off. I think that's the big thing I see with this team comp over here on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns, getting picks. But when I look at the Cyberpunk Otters team comp, I see the exact same thing. Both these teams are going to be fighting for picks left and right, and I think it's going to come down to who places more wards in this one. And if last game has anything to say about it, we know they're not going to be on the side of the solo lane, right?
You know what? I believe somebody said wards don't win games. If that policy applies in the solo lane, I don't know how well that's going to fare.
Wards don't win games? What's that supposed to... You know what? Wards win championships. You guys want to be champions? Start buying those little ward things. They go do miracles. Trust me. Vision, information. So yeah, we'll say wards don't win games. But we'll say they'll win championships. Exactly.
Fair enough. I think it's going to be a lot more important this game with just how much mobility is on the side of the Cyberpunk Otters for sure. We'll see how the ward count changes. You want to take over and unders, though, on how many wards of soul lanes? You think we're going to hit 5?
Ooh, I don't think we're getting 3 total.
Wait a minute. With
between
Mans.
This
3. So you're telling me neither solo lane is going to buy 2.
No, one of them is going to get 2.
The other one's just not going to ward at all. Then.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that. It's going to be hilarious.
If I were to give a more realistic, I don't think. This is hard. You're really trying to think of what can I really say about this? But I think Dave will get 1 or 2 down after how that early game went in the last one. I don't see Freaky though, with the way he was playing in the last game, placing too many. He was getting aggressive, getting in the face. It felt like his team was getting some vision up for him by just being present.
Fair enough. And as we get some of the items out, what are we looking at here? Ooh. Ninja support. That is interesting.
Speaking of interesting, we're going to move on in right now to game number 2 of Cyberpunk Otters versus Gunshow Shoguns. See where these picks are starting to fall into place and where people are going to be going. As you did say, we do have that national support. Did buy an early ward, so well, that's already one off of our counter. Although we were talking about
that's the wrong lane, sir.
I mean, it's one more ward than last game right now. I want to see that deep vision because it was the dual lane that got ganked very early in the last game, but it was the Gunshow Shoguns who ganked. I'm sorry, it was the Cyberpunk Otters who ganked the Gunshow Shoguns. So maybe they're looking for a gank themselves, or maybe they're trying to not get ganked early over there. Probably going to see some early pressure come out. You have the Naja, who has good clear. You have the Danzaburo, who has good clear, and the two gods together have good pressure. The Ymir is pretty much the only early game aspect I see on the side of the Gunshow Shoguns over there. And when I see a Ymir in the game, my thought process is run at the purple buff with him. Take this Ymir, run at the buffs of the enemy team camps, be an invading nuisance, be an absolute menace with my walls, getting in the way of things. I want to see that happen, but it looks like the Cyberpunk Otters team are kind of aware of that with this early ward. We'll see where they do place it, though.
We will see, indeed, as we move over to the solo lane, just doing solo lane things. Not a whole lot of damage coming out. No one really at threat of any dying, as you would expect from Chalk. I'm curious, though, on how Naja versus Ymir, that matchup is going to go.
Well, you sash in as the Naja. The Ymir looks at the ADC who got sashed and instantly freezes them. Your ADC walks away, happy, acting like absolutely nothing happened because nothing really did happen. But if they synergize it with the taunt from Jacob Frost Soap on this Danzaburo, maybe we'll get some damage off. Unless a good Ymir wall just kind of separates the two in the process. I am worried about the ring bounce, though. Once these waves get lower, that ring bounce does damage early. It's atrocious how much damage that does, and the bastions don't help that at all.
No, they sure don't. I like Leather Cowl on Donza. It looks like they're going pretty standard with Death's Tone, Cardi B. I was actually expecting the Donza Naja to have the more pressure, and I might be wrong in that, but was definitely expecting a little bit more aggression from their side. Oh, as I say that, Naja gets a sash.
Is FKL making a rotation on over here, and Roaring Mercury Simple a little bit poked out now, but maybe it's all a bait. Zafkiel comes on in, tries to find White Mayasi, but he's able to get down, and here comes Dope Jobs looking for a pickup here on this early assassin. Both teams kind of popping their shards left and right and walking away, just staring at each other. Like, all right, you know what? You don't win this one, we don't win this one. But recognize that's that ring bounce. That's what I'm saying. Off the bastions just goes left and right.
That's going to be crazy, especially as they get to see just out of nowhere the bastion hit the wave.
Junglers are still floating around in this area, though. We see Dope Chops coming on over, but there is a ward that he did cross. Mercury Simp lands a nice sash over on White Mayasi, gets silenced out and is getting collapsed on by the members of Gunshow Shoguns, and it looks like the taunt is good for the peel, but not good enough as White Mayasi finds first blood for the Gunshow Shoguns, taking out the support of the Cyberpunk Otters.
That is not what you want to see if you're Cyberpunk Otters, especially with how this lane's been going. Like, that Naja damage is going to be missed, and that CC is going to be missed. There's the Ymir wall.
What's rough, I feel, though, is that Thanatos looked like he crossed that ward, and then the Naja Sash came out. You have to recognize that you have this early game jungler, and you just have a jungler in general. That extra body in the early game does wonders. And the fact on top of it that it is a Thanatos, this god who wants to get kills early, wants to pressure the map early, and wants to snowball, you can't allow him to do that.
Fair enough. I'm kind of curious to see mid how that's developing. I see Agni's a little low. Do they have? They do have ults. I wonder if Thanatos is going to show some attention over to the mid lane now that he's already shown duo.
Starting to show duo some attention for sure. Team's kind of happy to return to farming, but it looks like Zafkiel's eyeballing over on this solo lane side. Ultimate does come out from the Opwash, and so it does from the Pele. And Zafkiel and Devo are able to get a nice kill over here on Freaky G on this Chalk. Kind of what I expected over here on this side. You know, just coming in with this Pele pick. What are you going to do against the Opwash into the Chalk? He's going to prevent you from healing at all with the ultimate. And then if you do try to heal too, he's just going to stun you out with his 3. Mix in a early game assassin as well on this side of the map, and congrats, you have a dead Chalk.
Yeah, and you know, that was a counter gank off the side. I didn't see... I saw Pele getting over to the right side real quick, seizing the opportunity. Surprisingly, I don't think... Yeah, still no wards, though, for either solo laner. So expect to see that a couple more times this game, at least.
What do you mean, surprisingly? What's that supposed to mean? I told you, what, 3, right?
Let me see. There are 3 party punch on Cyberpunk side, which makes sense. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the one where you have to traverse 1,200 units. 1,500 units. I apologize. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense given their high mobility for sure. Gonna see how team fights and all that works out. With that being stacked, Thanatos getting forced to use the ult though.
Got a time to right here, but Dope Chop's a little bit quick on that ultimate button, able to get away, no problem. It looks like Zafkiel isn't ready to give it up as the Charybdis is pushed up very far forward in the dual lane. White Myasi might find himself a little bit caught out as the Zafkiel ends up collapsing on in. Charybdis forced into the underwater right now, but we're spinning around and around as the Dance Burr ult unable to find its mark, but Zafkiel is able to land and force out White Myasi, send him back to the gray screen. Another pick off going here.
You know, the one thing I don't like about that is the Charybdis ult. Not only are they able to take Charybdis on the gray screen, send him back and farm, but now they don't have that ult for the next, I'm sure, pressure team fight.
I always love a Danza that misses his ultimate and has it just like, okay, and he's inside of it too, trying to control it and go around and around and around, trying to find that person, but he's not able to turn sharp enough. That's always a fun little spin around that they do.
It almost seems kind of like a mini game of like, how many times can I turn this around before I actually hit the person I'm trying to hit? You know what I mean?
You should see when you do the auto target on it, you can actually do the same thing and make it spin around you endlessly. It's kind of hilarious. You
Really?
just get it just right. Oh yeah. You need to be the target, you need to be up close and personal to them, and then you just kind of spin right around. And Zafkiel over here, though, hold that thought, making a rotation on Freaky G yet again, forces the ultimate off of this Chalk and is trying to get a pick off, but you're a little bit slow. He's going to get stunned out, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to be able to get to the safety of the back of his tower, no problem. And Dope Chops is kind of hanging around in the area, goes up, and the ultimate comes down on top of Zafkiel, but unable to land the mark. And Freaky G thought he could come back in, but ends up falling as a result. That stun, man, if you didn't... So close. Made a very good attempt, but man, that really goes to show you that, you know, if you're just off the mark with that stun, you're... Oh, man. Zafkiel does not want to give up anymore, though. Zafkiel just kind of running through the jungle of Gunshow Shoguns, getting these picks over here, and really punishing the members of Gunshow Shoguns, building a 3-level lead already in this jungle, 10-7. You know, the goal difference is absolutely nothing, but the level difference right now in the jungle is probably going to get a little drastic if this Pele gets any more out of hand. Team's kind of returning to farming, and hopefully the solo lane gets started on these wards. You know, a lot of pressure's been shown over there. Well, a lot of attention's been shown over there in these past 2 games. Maybe Freaky G wants to put down a couple. I know you're playing a warrior into the mage, but man, good wards over on the side of the dual lane, but it's not stopping this Pele from coming on in. Zafkiel is really applying pressure across this map right now and is getting absolutely juked out by White Myasi, running around in circles here, trying to escape with his life. Unable to get down underneath the water, finally able to get out. But this Pele almost having the ultimate forces White Myasi into the ultimate, and Dope Chops is able to find Deva over in the solo lane. 3-man rotation on the solo lane. 4 members strung over on the side of the Cyberpunk Otters by this Gold Fury. If they recognize this attempt, they might be able to pick it up, and that is exactly what they are doing. Gold Fury getting pulled by the Cyberpunk Otters, getting it down to about 3/4 health bar, and Rogue Warrior is nearby, very healthy, lots of mana, has those bombs ready, half health on the Gold Fury, and a very low Rory Mercury simp right now. Rogue Warrior becomes a target, gets stunned out. He does find Rory Mercury's simp, but Zafkiel ends up finding Rogue Warrior as well. Chronos Rewind does come out, and Cyberpunk Otters secure the Gold Fury, and it looks like they're going to secure Shrimp Warrior's health bar as well, forcing out the shell from this Ymir, and oh, no way does he get away. Good, all right, Zafkiel does get a double kill over here off the back end of this Gold Fury fight, and a rampage on this Pele, 5-0 already. Dope Chops was able to close the gap a little bit in this level, but man, it just feels like the amount of pressure that this Pele is putting out is quite astonishing. Teams moving around, returning to farming. There's no real objectives to be taken as of yet, and that should be the last mid camps over on the solo lane side before the Pyromancer spawns. Not too much as of yet. It looks like the Thanatos is opting for this Jotun's Hydra style build, but a second item Transcendence coming out from the Pele. I find this very interesting. You know, you get the early, oh man, speaking of the Thanatos coming on in over here on the solo lane. Watch force the ultimate, and the Zafkiel ends up picking up. Look at the healing coming out from this mage right now, and Freaky G becomes the target as well. What a counter gank by this 2. And the Ymir is here to hopefully try to get something, but man, I don't know if you're going to be able to do so just yet. You might become the target yourself, because here comes Rory Mercury Simp getting a nice dash off over here. Zafkiel getting the knock up, and that is 3 members getting knocked down over here in the solo lane. A very, very nice attempt from the Gunshow Shoguns to gank this op wash, but man, that healing that came out from that was atrocious. You're healing up while dealing damage, while preventing them from healing at all. It really goes to show you what these mage solos are capable of right now. Beads forced by Jacob Frost. Soap over here on this pick. Danzaburo. Thanatos does pick up the Hydras. But yeah, back to what I was saying about this Transcendence on the Pele. Rogue Warrior wanting to get a little bit more poke off. Dope Chops might become a target, and unable to get up into the ultimate, ends up falling to Dead Dank Memes. The members of Cyberpunk Otters rotating on over here. No real objective up, but I guess their objective is cleaning up the members of Gunshow Shoguns as they find yet another one. Rogue Warrior ends up falling, and they are wanting more. 4 members running down the dual lane right now and about to surround the 2 members of Gunshow Shoguns under this tier 1 tower. Dropping some of the bastions, no problem. Taking out that purple buff. Gonna just get a little bit of farm and return to neutral, but the first beacon does spawn, and it looks like Zafkiel's gonna make their way on over, and let me take my mid laner's wave first. We junglers love our farm and preventing our team from farming. I would never do that though. I mean, I guess you kind of have to when you do get the second item Transcendence online. While I feel like it does push off the power spike of the Pele, if Zafkiel can get the farm online, but that's not going to happen when you get shut down. The Ymir secures the kill. Kill secure from the support of the Gunshow Shoguns, and the Gunshow Shoguns are chasing down, securing this beacon, securing some picks over here. Dope Chops goes up in the air, and the shell gets forced out by Shrimp Warrior, and it looks like they're just going to kind of happily take the beacon, but Dope Chops wanting a little bit more, forces the Chronos ultimate over here. Chasing under the tower. Dead Dank Memes might end up finding himself chasing a little bit too deep, though. Agni Bomb's just off the mark. Man, this fight is just going on and on and on, it feels like, and Freaky G's over here now wanting a little bit of something. Green buff now maybe has the eyes of him, but Rory Mercury Simp is back. Speaking of back, Jacob Frost so pushed up very far, does not have the beads, has the Aegis over here in the duo lane, is going to become the target of the 2 members of the Gunshow Shoguns, forced into the ultimate, and it looks like he's going to get away with no problem, but Freaky G is here, trying to chase him down. Ooh. Doesn't have a tier 1 tower to help him out, but does have Rory Mercury Simp. No problem, able to create some distance here between the members of Gunshow Shoguns and survive a very nice gank attempt, but 5 members strong surrounding this Gold Fury and very spread out are the Cyberpunk Otters. They're going to pick it up right away. I think they recognize this. The tier 1 tower does fall in mid, but man, that Gold Fury's health bar is dwindling, getting down to about 60%, but Roy Mercury Simp's health bar is dwindling much faster. Thanatos going up in the ultimate. He's going to turn into a little bit of a scouting mission right now as the members of Gunshow Shoguns pick up the Gold Fury yet again.
Fair enough. At least they're picking up a Pyro on the other side, getting a bit of a consolation at least, because there's no way they're contesting this Gold Fury. Oh, as I say that, not quite going to be enough.
Gunshow Shoguns secure the Gold Fury, but Devo shows up and deletes 2 of the members who were kind of hanging out in the area, ends up falling himself as well, a 1 for 2, and the Gold Fury does still go the way of the Gunshow Shoguns. They do get the Pyromancer though, like you're saying. It's a nice little prize that doesn't feel like a consolation prize with these Pyro Bombs, although I don't see it in the pocket of any of the members of Gunshow Shoguns, and I find that kind of upsetting. Those Pyro Bombs are very successful for, you know, deleting the Phoenix health bars. You're able to just 2 bombs if you get some minions inside, just nuke a Phoenix, knock it down, and instantly create so much pressure. So it feels like using it in other places kind of just comes up as, I don't want to say a waste, because, you know, you do get some value out of it so long as you're not using it to just kind of knock somebody up as they're chasing you away from something. But, you know, outside of Phoenixes, does it really serve its purpose?
I mean, towers, you know, maybe, but other than structures, I just feel like it's underutilized. You know, it doesn't reach its full potential.
Thanatos had a lot of pressure over in the early game, kind of starting to fall off right now. Dope Shop's still level 13 right here, going into the 16-minute mark, and, you know, you're kind of lacking power in this Thanatos build. This is the problem with this pick and this build style. You know, you don't have the power. The god doesn't exactly need the power. He has the percentage health damage built into his kit. But when you're not getting your levels online, you're not able to snowball, which is what this pick wants to do. It doesn't get to deal that damage, as we see Zavkiel blinking in and removed. Roy Mercury Sim lands the ultimate on this Thanatos, and the Pele ult comes in, follow up. Now, Shrimp Warrior is the target of the members of Cyberpunk Otters, getting his health bar absolutely deleted, and the Agni Bombs are not enough. Shrimp Warrior ends up falling to Zavkiel. 7-1 in this Pele. Really transitioning themselves into this mid to late game, I think.
And that's not what you want to see. Piggybacking off of that Thanatos lacking power, you know, it doesn't really matter if the Thanatos is keeping ahead or keeping ahead or even keeping on par. But especially when you're behind like that in the way that they are, you look at player damage. I mean, 4,000 versus 15,000. That's a sizable difference, and it's not going to get any better, I don't think.
Well, we saw a little bit of a level gap early. Well, a lot of bit of a level gap early as Dave was trying to save his life. Oh no, the Chalk teleport sends him right back into the outwash ult, and Zavkiel just off the mark with the ultimate. Finds himself exactly where he wants to be, but Dead Dank Memes ends up picking up Freaky G, and Devo ends up falling to Shrimp Warrior. These supports are securing kills left and right. But man, the fight for the beacon that hasn't spawned yet. So much fun. As we were saying with this, you know, Thanatos over here, there was a little bit of a level disparity in the early game. He was able to close it up, but now it just seems like that level disparity is right back where it was.
5 levels down, that's definitely going to be hard to come back from. That is rough. Something, however, is the Charybdis is ahead. I don't know if that's going to make a difference with split pushing or if they're going to make a backdoor off of that, but that is a bright spot for sure.
Objective starting to spawn. That beacon does go down, and looks like the members of Gunshow Shoguns are looking towards the Oni Fury. Meanwhile, the members of Cyberpunk Otters might be eyeballing yet another Pyromancer. That Oni Fury's health bar is just going down, and I don't think they can respond to it fast enough, especially not with the amount of members and wards that the Gunshow Shoguns has. And sure enough, there it goes. The Gunshow Shoguns end up finding themselves yet another Gold Fury. And another Pyromancer goes down in the favor of the Cyberpunk Otters. Let's see what they use this bomb for this time as we see it over on Rory Mercury Sim.
Yeah, much
Look at
like
that
last
damage.
time, trading the Fury for the Pyro as Thanatos comes down and gets a kill on the Kronos. Hopefully they use the bomb for a little different purpose this time, though.
Nice 1-2 pickup over here by the Gunshow Shoguns, recognizing that the members of Cyberpunk Otters are stepped up a little bit too far forward without any help. You got to punish those kind of out of position plays, and doing just that I think is going to help them close up the gap, because it looks like now they want to take down this tier 1 tower in the mid lane finally, knock that down, give themselves a little bit of gold, bringing this to a 2k game. No way are they eyeballing Fire Giant right now. You're not going to be eyeballing Fire Giant as Zephyel's eyeballing your Thanatos. Dope Chops ends up falling to the wrath of this Pele, just really showing who can delete who faster.
That is going to cut down a lot of the secure that they might have had on Fire Giant, as they are looking to capture. Devo comes in the right lane. And
What?
Cardi B absolutely securing that Devo comes for sure.
Yeah, Wipe My Honesty able to pick up another kill over here. These ADCs, look at how even this is over here. Okay, you know, you have the level disparity in the jungle. You have a little bit of a level disparity over in the solo lane. And the ADCs and mids, though, they feel like they're kind of just chilling. You know, they're, all right, you know what? We're going to deal a little bit of poke damage to you. Nobody's really down, but now Zafkiel's doing his best to try to make sure Rogue Warrior doesn't feel like he's chilling. And look at that. Dope Chops goes up in the air looking for something off of this back end. Zafkiel getting very greedy. And that's exactly what I expect to happen from these kind of greedy plays. Jacob Frost ends up finding one as well. And the members of Cyberpunk Otters are pushing into the jungle of the Gunshow Shoguns, wanting more.
Absolutely. You know, I feel like the Pele has had Agni's number all game. I just constantly been on him. It's kind of interesting to see that frag back, definitely something that they needed, as Kronos gets the kill on White My Aussie.
That was so unfortunate. White My Aussie used both relics to escape the previous CC, and then the Kronos ability was just coming through a little bit delayed and gets a stun off, and he's able to get that kill. The Cyberpunk Otters now looking towards the Fire Giant, but the Gunshow Shogun members are none the wiser as they're floating about in the area. You do have the Agni, you do have the Chucks, you have a frontliner, you have some damage here. That Fire Giant's down to about half health, and the members of Cyberpunk Otters are opting to go for the fight instead. Huge ultimates coming out from the Chuck over here, and the Op Wash on top of it, and some low HP bars. Beads and Aegis popped over here from Jacob Frost Soap, and the members of Gunshow Shoguns are on the chase down. Then Thanatos comes down and ends up finding Dead Dig Memes, deleting this Kronos before he can get into the ultimate, and so comes out the Pele ultimate, looking to pick up Freaky G. Devo does end up dropping the chalk over on the Gunshow Shoguns, and it looks like this fight is not over just yet. Dope Chop's trying to peel for his teammates, and Rory Mercury Sim wanting to get a little bit of something, set something up for the rest of his teammates who are still alive.
Absolutely, that Alpwash ult setting up that team fight perfectly, in that Thanatos ultimate specifically. Just there were so many low health bars. Thanatos kind of just had his pickings. And are they gonna refrag? Devo comes get some revenge. They absolutely are.
We're hanging out a little bit too much, and it looks like the Pele is going to go for a blink in, try to get a pickup over on this Thanatos, but a beautiful wall coming out from Shrimp Warrior supports win games and wards win championships. There is the motto, okay? Right there.
Absolutely. They're fighting a little bit over the Pyro right now, though.
Rory Mercury's absolutely falling right now. Shrimp Warrior getting a nice freeze off, trying to get away with his life. 1 HP over here, but Zafkiel ended up picking up a double kill. Dead Deck Memes ended up falling one, but Zafkiel ends up falling to Freaky G as well. And Jacob Frost Soap is finding himself trying to run away because Dead Deck Memes just picked up Dope Chops, got the ultimate off, and he's looked like he's on the offensive now. Freaky G eyeballing this Danzaburo, trying to get something off of it, moving around, but unable to close the gap here as this Kronos creating some very nice distance for his ADC.
You know, I don't know if I like Chalk looking for that Charybdis without the ult. He did have to use it in that last team fight, and I don't know. I feel like Kronos and is doing a little too much there for Chalk to be hanging around.
You hang around a little bit too long, and now it looks like the members of Cyberpunk Otters are going to pick up this Gold Fury, and, you know, they got the members in tow. They're ready. They're over here. They're healthy outside of Jacob Frosthope eating a little bit of those Gold Fury channels, but no problem because Rory Mercury Sim does tank it. And the Cyberpunk Otters take themselves a Gold Fury. They're second of the game. A little bit of a basic Gold Fury, but some extra gold in the pocket doesn't hurt as they extend their lead to about 7K right now. Not bad. Not bad at all.
6.6. And not just the gold difference, but the XP difference is telling. 26k damage for the Pele as opposed to 11k for the Thanatos. I wonder, what do you do if you're the Gunshow Shoguns?
Well, the way you look at it too, it's like, okay, so this Pele, she's at 26k. Your Thanatos is at 11, almost 12k. Okay. Your Agni, though, for the Gunshow Shoguns is at 23, 24k. And your counterpart, this Kronos, is at 14k. It feels like there's a little bit of give or take here with the mid-jungle combinations that they have going on between these two teams.
Fair enough, as we see, looks like 2 party punches taken. Upwatch did end up selling his. Didn't find it useful, or just has so much extra gold that he just finishes the build early.
Oh yeah, getting into these late games, selling those recipes, trying to get some last items online and give you that extra power spike and complete some builds. Titan health bar going down for the Gunshow Shoguns, but the Cyberpunk Otters Titan is very healthy. We might see a little bit of a push over here in the solo lane as Dope Chops goes up in the Thanatos ultimate, unable to find Zafkiel, gets the ultimate away from this Pele. Create a little bit of a distance over here, and now they have a Titan to deal with as the members of Cyberpunk Otters are picking up the Fire Giant. And burning it absolutely quick. Look at that health bar go down to 25%, down to 5%. Chalk coming in to try to save the day, but it's not enough. Cyberpunk got to secure the Fire Giant. Now they're going to secure the health bar of the Chalk. You just saw how that Fire Giant health bar went down. You're going to be way easier than that Fire Giant was. 2 members of Gunshow Shoguns end up falling, and Cyberpunk Otters have not had enough. They're chasing down Shrimp Warrior now, and they are finding Shrimp Warrior at that. 5 members strong, all with Fire Giants. Very healthy, lots of mana, and they are just marching it down right now, looking at the mid lane, looking at this Agni.
Oh, come on, get him. Yes.
Deleting the members of Gunshow Shoguns, and now going to delete this HP on this Phoenix, it looks like.
Control, Alt, Delete. They still have a Pyro Bomb to use on this Phoenix. Decide not to use it on the middle. Let's see if they decide to use it on either of the sides. No, they're just going to decide, all your lives belong to me. And it does look like it's going to be the end game here.
Cyberpunk Otters forcing themselves absolutely through that team fight, forcing onto that Fire Giant, chasing down the members of Gunshow Shoguns, and marching it down this mid lane, ending this game number 2 at 26 minutes, and honestly ending this set in a 2-0.
You know, it's nice not having to cast a 70-minute game. I just didn't think it'd be in quite the fashion. Now let's see if you are prophetic. Dude, did the solo
lane wards?
And yeah, did the solo lane
lane wards
rewards?
I see 0 from Davo and 2. Let's go! Let's go!
You heard it here first. Zek is absolutely a prophet. Psychic indeed.
Wow. Well, that was quite a showing.
You know, it was really interesting from start to finish, and I'm really impressed with how the Cyberpunk Otters I feel like they just had control of that game from minute 1.
It really did. You know, in game number 1, they just kind of held off with this late game team comp, got it to the late game, and did their thing. But in this game, like you said, it felt like they had it from minute 1 and just ran it down. They kept up that pressure. They constantly were just shoving it down the throat. And this Pele over here was putting in work. You allow these early game gods in the jungle, such as the Pele or the Thanatos, to do what they want in the early game. Transition that right in the mid game, and you have an absolute menace going into the mid to late game. This god just gets on top of anyone, and there goes the health bars. But speaking of going the health bars, that last team fight, okay, the fire giant was eviscerated, just deleted. You have this double ADC combination with the Danzaburo and the Kronos with the Polynomicon, who are able to just remove the health bar of any objective in their way. And the couple of seconds that the members of Gunshow Shoguns were trying to get the Titan out of the solo lane was way too much. You know, just 3 or 4 seconds was too much because that fire giant health bar was just gone.
Yeah, we barely got to look at it. I think we looked at it for a whole maybe 5 seconds, and fire giant was gone. And they just didn't have any time to respond because you got to deal with the Titan. You can't just let Titan walk up to Phoenix. But at that point, I believe that was EFG. I could be wrong, but
26 minutes.
26 minutes.
Basic.
I'm not good with times, but yeah, just the fire giant just couldn't let that go for free, and it just downhill from there.
Well, Cyberpunk God are showing us 2 games in a row that they come in mind with a team comp going into these games, and they have the execution on top of it. Gunshow Shogun's coming up a little bit short. That's going to be a 2-0 for Cyberpunk Otters, walking away with the win today. We do have another set coming up a little bit later today, so we look forward to seeing you guys there. You have me, Zach Vex, over here on the desk with Dragon Zero, and Lunar was over typing around over there. BUE, everyone. Very good. Typing skills are 11 out of 10. Thank you, Lunar. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you, myself. Thank you, all of you, for coming on out. We'll see you guys next time.